On a moonlit night, Sarah decided to take a late-night drive to clear her mind. The road stretched out before her, surrounded by dense forests on either side. As she drove deeper into the darkness, an eerie feeling crept over her. Suddenly, Sarah noticed a figure standing by the side of the road, waving frantically. Concerned, she slowed down and rolled down her window. The person, a disheveled man, pleaded for a ride, claiming his car had broken down and he needed help. Reluctantly, Sarah agreed to give him a lift. As he got into the car, she couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off about him. His eyes darted around nervously, and his hands trembled. As they continued down the road, the man began to act strangely. He muttered to himself, his words incomprehensible. Sarah's unease grew, and she considered pulling over and asking him to get out. But before she could, he suddenly lunged at her, his face contorted with madness. In a panic, Sarah swerved the car, narrowly avoiding a collision. She screamed for help, but the man grabbed her arm, his grip tight and painful. Desperate to escape, she fought back, managing to free herself and push him away. The man stumbled backward, surprised by Sarah's sudden burst of strength. His grip loosened, and she took the opportunity to open the car door and leap out onto the deserted road. Her heart pounded in her chest as she sprinted into the darkness, away from the man in the car. Breathless and terrified, Sarah glanced back over her shoulder, expecting to see her attacker pursuing her. But to her relief, he was still standing by the side of the road, staring at her with a mix of confusion and frustration. It was as if something had snapped him out of his madness momentarily. Not daring to waste a second, Sarah continued running until she reached a small clearing in the woods. The moonlight filtered through the trees, casting an ethereal glow on the grass. She collapsed onto the ground, gasping for air and trying to comprehend what had just happened. In the distance, she heard the sound of approaching sirens. Relief washed over her as she realized someone must have called for help. She stayed put, waiting for the police to arrive, her heart still racing from the harrowing encounter. As she caught her breath, Sarah's mind raced with questions. Who was that man? What had triggered his sudden rage? And most importantly, why did he seem so familiar? Minutes later, the flashing lights of the police cars illuminated the dark forest. Officers cautiously approached Sarah, their hands resting on their holstered guns. One of them knelt down beside her, concern etched on his face. "Are you okay? What happened?" he asked gently. Sarah recounted the terrifying events, struggling to find the right words to explain what had transpired. The officer listened intently, his brows furrowing as her story unfolded. "We received a call about a suspicious person in the area," he said, his voice laced with concern. "We've been trying to track him down for weeks now. He's wanted in connection with a series of disappearances." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine as she absorbed the officer's words. The pieces of the puzzle started to fall into place, and she realized why the man had seemed so familiar. She had seen his face on missing person posters plastered around town, a haunting reminder of the lives that had been stolen. "But why me?" she whispered, her voice trembling. The officer glanced at her with a mixture of sympathy and determination. "We don't know yet. What's important now is that you're safe. We'll take you to the station, where you can give a formal statement and receive any necessary support." As Sarah climbed into the back seat of the patrol car, flashes of the encounter replayed in her mind. She couldn't shake off the feeling that there was more to this than just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. The man's madness and desperation were etched into her memory, but there was something else lurking beneath the surface. At the police station, Sarah sat in a small, dimly lit room, waiting to give her statement. It had been hours since the incident on the road, and her mind was still grappling with what had happened. The officers had assured her that they would do everything in their power to apprehend the man, but Sarah couldn't shake off the feeling that there was more at play here. Just as she was lost in her thoughts, Detective Thompson entered the room. He was a seasoned investigator with a reputation for solving the most perplexing cases. "Sarah," he said, his voice kind yet assertive, I've been looking into this man you encountered tonight. His name is Daniel Drake, and he's been on the run for months. But what's puzzling is that he wasn't always like this." Sarah looked up, her eyes locked with the detective's. She could sense that he was about to reveal something significant. Daniel Drake was an ordinary man, leading a seemingly normal life, Detective Thompson explained. He had a stable job, a loving family, and no criminal record. But then something changed. About 6 months ago, he disappeared without a trace. His wife reported him missing, and we launched an investigation. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest as she listened intently to the detective's words. She'd grown up in this small town and couldn't fathom how someone could go from leading an ordinary life to being involved in a string of disappearances and acts of madness. Detective Thompson continued, his voice filled with urgency. "We delved into Daniel's past, interviewed friends, family members, colleagues, and found a pattern. He had always been fascinated by ancient folklore and myths, particularly those surrounding a local legend, the Moonlight Curse." Sarah's breath caught in her throat as she recognized the name. The Moonlight Curse was an old tale passed down through generations in her town. It spoke of a curse that befell those who dared to venture out into the moonlight on a certain night of the year. Legend had it that under the light of a full moon, ordinary people would be consumed by an otherworldly madness, driven to commit unspeakable acts of violence. According to the legend, Detective Thompson continued, the curse only affects those who have a deep connection to the darkness within them. It's said that once the curse takes hold, their true nature is unleashed, and they become agents of chaos. Sarah's mind spun with disbelief. How could a mere legend hold any truth? But as she thought back to her encounter with Daniel, something clicked. His eyes darting nervously, his trembling hands. These were signs of someone struggling to contain an inner torment. "Do you think Daniel was cursed?" Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Detective Thompson nodded gravely. "It seems likely. We've come across similar cases in the past, though none quite as violent as this one. The curse seems to amplify the darkness within a person, turning them into something unrecognizable." Sarah shivered at the thought of an ancient curse wreaking havoc on an unsuspecting town. She couldn't help but wonder if there was any way to break the curse, to save those who had fallen victim to its influence. "We're working on it," Detective Thompson assured her. "We've reached out to experts and scholars, hoping to find a solution. There must be a way to stop this curse from spreading further." Sarah felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. If there was even a slight chance of stopping the curse, she wanted to be a part of it. She couldn't bear the thought of more innocent lives being shattered by madness and violence. "If you need my help in any way," Sarah said firmly, "I'm willing to do whatever it takes." Detective Thompson studied her for a moment, his eyes searching hers for sincerity. Finally, he nodded, his expression softening. "Thank you, Sarah. We'll need all the help we can get. Together we'll uncover the truth behind this curse and find a way to put an end to it." As Sarah left the police station that night, her mind was ablaze with possibilities. She couldn't ignore the feeling that she had some connection to the Moonlight Curse, even if it was just a distant memory or a whisper in her subconscious. Over the following weeks, Sarah dedicated herself to researching the curse and its origins. She delved into dusty books and ancient scrolls, seeking any clue that could shed light on how to break the curse's hold on those affected by it. Detective Thompson and his team worked tirelessly alongside her, uncovering forgotten tales and seeking out individuals who might possess valuable knowledge. One name kept recurring in their research: Evelyn Blackwood, an elderly woman rumored to be a direct descendant of the original victims of the Moonlight Curse. It was said that she held the key to breaking the curse, but she had secluded herself from the world, living in isolation deep within the forest. Sarah knew that finding Evelyn Blackwood was their best hope for unraveling the mysteries of the curse, so she convinced Detective Thompson to accompany her on a journey into the heart of the woods. Armed with old maps and vague descriptions, they embarked on a treacherous path, guided only by their determination and the faint whispers of ancient legends. After hours of searching, they stumbled upon a dilapidated cabin hidden amidst towering trees. The air was heavy with an inexplicable aura, as if the forest itself held its breath. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest as she approached the cabin door, adorned with symbols of protection against dark forces. She reached out to knock, but before her knuckles could make contact, the door creaked open ever so slightly on its own accord. With a shared glance of both anticipation and apprehension, Sarah and Detective Thompson exchanged nods and stepped inside. The interior of the cabin was dimly lit, with sunlight filtering through cracks in the worn wooden walls. A musty smell hung in the air, mingling with the scent of dried herbs and ancient wisdom. Sarah and Detective Thompson cautiously made their way further into the cabin, their footsteps echoing on the creaky wooden floor. As they ventured deeper into the dwelling, they found themselves surrounded by shelves upon shelves filled with dusty tomes and jars containing peculiar ingredients. Sarah's eyes widened with awe at the wealth of knowledge that lay before her. It was evident that Evelyn Blackwood had devoted her life to understanding the Moonlight Curse and finding a way to break its malevolent hold. Just as they were about to call out for Evelyn, a frail voice emerged from a darkened corner of the room. "I've been expecting you," it whispered, sending shivers down Sarah's spine. The figure slowly emerged from the shadows, revealing an elderly woman with deep, piercing eyes that seemed to hold centuries of wisdom. Her hair was white as snow, cascading down her back like a waterfall, and her skin was weathered and wrinkled, etched with a lifetime of secrets. Evelyn Blackwood, the keeper of the ancient knowledge, stood before Sarah and Detective Thompson. "It is not by chance that you have found your way here," Evelyn spoke with a voice that echoed with power and authority. "The Moonlight Curse is a force that cannot be tamed easily." Sarah felt an overwhelming sense of reverence for this woman who had dedicated her life to understanding the curse. Her mind raced with questions, desperate to uncover the truth and find a way to stop the madness that had taken hold of their town. "We've come seeking your guidance," Detective Thompson said, his voice filled with determination. "We must find a way to break the curse before it claims more innocent lives." Evelyn nodded slowly, her eyes never leaving Sarah's face. "The legends speak of an ancient artifact that holds the power to break the Moonlight Curse," she began. "It is called the Tear of Lunaris." Sarah's heart skipped a beat at the mention of the artifact. She had heard whispers of this legendary tear, said to possess the essence of the moon itself. It was believed to be hidden deep within a sacred cavern, guarded by ancient spirits. "Evelyn, do you know where we can find the Tear of Lunaris?" Sarah asked, her voice filled with anticipation. The elderly woman smiled, a twinkle in her eyes. "Indeed, I do," she replied, "but it will not be an easy journey. The path to the sacred cavern is treacherous and fraught with danger." Sarah exchanged a glance with Detective Thompson. They were both aware that the risks were worth taking if it meant freeing their town from the grip of darkness. "Tell us what we must do," Detective Thompson said firmly. Evelyn Blackwood nodded approvingly. "To reach the sacred cavern and claim the Tear of Lunaris, you must pass through the Forest of Shadows," she began. "It is a place haunted by the spirits of those consumed by the Moonlight Curse. They will test your resolve and try to sway you from your path." Sarah's heart raced at the thought of confronting these vengeful spirits, but she steeled herself for the challenges ahead. She had come too far to turn back now. "Evelyn, is there anything we can do to protect ourselves from their influence?" Sarah asked, her voice steady despite her growing unease. The elderly woman nodded, reaching into a small pouch tied to her waist. She pulled out a handful of dried herbs, each with its own distinct fragrance. "These are moonbane herbs," Evelyn explained. Burning them will create a shield against the spirit's attempts to manipulate your minds. Sarah took the bundle of herbs, studying them carefully. The weight of their importance settled in her hands as she realized that they held the key to their survival. She turned to Detective Thompson, determination shining in her eyes. "We must gather as many moonbane herbs as we can before venturing into the Forest of Shadows," Sarah said, her voice resolute. "We cannot afford to let the spirits deter us from our mission." Detective Thompson nodded in agreement. "I'll reach out to our contacts and secure a supply of these herbs," he replied. "We'll be prepared for whatever challenges lie ahead." With their plan in motion, Sarah and Detective Thompson spent the following days meticulously gathering moonbane herbs from various sources. They sought out the assistance of local herbalists and even managed to acquire a rare batch from an ancient apothecary. As they assembled their supplies, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of a presence lurking in the shadows, watching their every move. The town had become tainted by the curse, and the spirits were growing restless. Time was of the essence. Finally, armed with a plentiful supply of moonbane herbs, Sarah and Detective Thompson stood at the edge of the Forest of Shadows. The air was heavy, filled with an eerie stillness that sent a chill down their spines. With the herbs tightly gripped in their hands, they stepped forward, venturing into the twisted labyrinth of trees and shadows. As they made their way deeper into the forest, the spirits began to reveal themselves. Whispers floated through the air, their voices haunting and tormented. Flickering apparitions emerged from the darkness, their ethereal forms dancing just beyond the reach of Sarah and Detective Thompson's outstretched hands. The spirits tested them relentlessly, playing tricks on their minds and attempting to lure them off course. They took on familiar faces and voices, trying to exploit their deepest fears and insecurities. But Sarah and Detective Thompson clung to each other, their determination unwavering. With every step, the power of the moonbane herbs burned brightly, creating an invisible shield that protected their minds from the influence of the vengeful spirits. The whispers grew louder, the apparitions more aggressive, but Sarah and Detective Thompson forged ahead, undeterred and resolute in their quest. As they ventured deeper into the Forest of Shadows, the path became increasingly treacherous. Looming thorns snagged at their clothes, roots tangled beneath their feet, and the air grew dense with an otherworldly energy. But they pressed on, driven by their unwavering determination to break the moonlight curse and free their town from its grip. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of navigating through the darkness, they came upon a clearing bathed in a soft, silvery light. At its center stood a towering oak tree with gnarled branches reaching upwards as if trying to touch the moonlit sky. Resting atop one of the branches was a delicate silver key. Sarah's heart leaped with anticipation. She knew that this was no ordinary key, for it held the power to unlock the entrance to the sacred cavern where the tear of Lunaris awaited. As she approached the tree, a hush fell over the forest, as if even the spirits were holding their breath in anticipation. With trembling hands, Sarah reached out to grasp the key. As her fingers closed around its cold metallic surface, a surge of energy coursed through her veins. The key was ancient, its intricate design hinting at hidden secrets and untold stories. It was a key that had seen countless adventurers and seekers of wisdom before them, all in pursuit of breaking the moonlight curse. A soft voice echoed in Sarah's mind, whispered instructions passed down through generations. "Find the door hidden behind the waterfall," it urged. "Only there can you unlock the path to the sacred cavern." Sarah turned to Detective Thompson, her eyes gleaming with determination. "We need to find a waterfall," she declared. "That is where we'll find the entrance." Detective Thompson nodded, his gaze unwavering. "Let's not waste any more time," he said. "We must follow the voice's guidance and find that waterfall." Together, they ventured deeper into the forest, their eyes scanning the surroundings for any signs of cascading water. The whispers of the spirits faded into the distance as the sound of rushing water gradually grew louder. After what felt like hours of following the melodic symphony of the waterfall, Sarah spotted a glimmer of light through a dense thicket of trees. Pushing aside branches and leaves, they emerged into a small clearing where a magnificent waterfall cascaded down from a rocky ledge above. Sarah and Detective Thompson stood in awe, their eyes fixed on the majestic sight before them. The water plummeted into a shimmering pool at the base, creating a gentle mist that hung in the air. "This must be it," Sarah whispered, her voice filled with anticipation. "The door to the sacred cavern is somewhere behind that waterfall." Determination etched across their faces, Sarah and Detective Thompson approached the waterfall with caution. They felt the energy of the tear of Lunaris resonating within the air, strengthening their resolve. As they drew closer, a subtle rumbling sound filled the clearing. The ground quivered beneath their feet, causing them to exchange worried glances. Just as they were about to retreat, the mist from the waterfall shifted, revealing a hidden passage behind it. Sarah and Detective Thompson shared a knowing look. This was the moment they had been waiting for. Gripping the key tightly, Sarah stepped into the misty passage, followed closely by Detective Thompson. The sound of rushing water faded as they ventured deeper into the darkness. The air grew colder, and an ethereal light illuminated their path. As they descended further, into the depths of the hidden passage, Sarah's heart quickened with a mix of anticipation and trepidation. It felt as if time stood still, as if they were stepping into a realm untouched by the passage of years. Finally, they reached the end of the passage, where a massive stone door stood before them, adorned with intricate carvings depicting ancient symbols and celestial patterns. Sarah's hands trembled as she inserted the key into the lock, feeling the weight of destiny resting upon her shoulders. With a soft click, the door swung open, revealing a cavern bathed in the soft glow of moonlight filtering through a natural skylight above. Crystals embedded in the walls shimmered like stars, casting dancing shadows across the cavern floor. In the center of the cavern, atop a pedestal of polished stone, rested the tear of Lunaris, a radiant gemstone pulsating with the power of the moon. Its beauty was breathtaking, a testament to the ancient magic that dwelled within its depths. Sarah and Detective Thompson approached the pedestal with reverence, their breath catching in their throats as they beheld the artifact that held the key to breaking the moonlight curse. With trembling hands, Sarah reached out and gently lifted the tear of Lunaris from its resting place, feeling its energy resonate with her own. As she held the gemstone aloft, a soft, melodic hum filled the cavern, echoing through the ancient walls like a chorus of celestial voices. It was a sound of hope, a promise of redemption for those whose lives had been touched by darkness. But their moment of triumph was short-lived, for as Sarah turned to leave the cavern, a shadow fell across the entrance, blocking their path. A figure emerged from the darkness, a being of pure malevolence, its eyes gleaming with a feral light. It was Daniel Drake, the man whose madness had been unleashed by the moonlight curse. His features contorted with rage and despair as he beheld the tear of Lunaris, his mind consumed by the darkness that had taken root within his soul. "You cannot take that which does not belong to you," Daniel growled, his voice echoing with the echoes of ancient curses. "The tear of Lunaris belongs to the moon, and I am its rightful guardian." Sarah's heart sank as she realized the extent of Daniel's torment. He had become a prisoner of the curse, a puppet whose strings were pulled by forces beyond his control. But she knew that they could not allow him to stand in the way of their mission. "We don't want to fight you, Daniel," Sarah said, her voice filled with compassion. "We only seek to break the curse that has consumed our town and set you free from its grip." Daniel's eyes flickered with uncertainty, a fleeting glimpse of the man he once was shining through the veil of darkness. For a moment, Sarah saw a spark of recognition, a glimmer of hope that redemption was still within reach. But before she could reach out to him, a deafening roar echoed through the cavern as the ground trembled beneath their feet. The tear of Lunaris pulsed with a blinding light, its power resonating with the magic woven into the fabric of the universe. In that moment of chaos, Sarah and Detective Thompson knew what they had to do. With a silent nod, they summoned the strength of their resolve and focused their energies on the artifact cradled in Sarah's hands. Together, they channeled the light of the moon into the tear of Lunaris, unleashing its full potential and harnessing its power to break the Moonlight Curse once and for all. The cavern reverberated with the force of their combined will, shaking with the magnitude of the magic that flowed through its ancient halls. As the light of the tear of Lunaris enveloped the cavern, Daniel's form began to waver, his features shifting between madness and clarity. He cried out in anguish, torn between the darkness that had consumed him and the flicker of humanity that still burned within his soul. And then, in a blinding flash of light, the curse was broken. The shadows receded, and the darkness that had plagued their town for so long faded into oblivion. The tear of Lunaris shimmered with a final burst of brilliance, its power spent, but its purpose fulfilled. When Sarah opened her eyes, she found herself standing in the cavern bathed in the soft glow of moonlight. Daniel was nowhere to be seen, his presence vanishing like a wisp of smoke in the wind. But she knew that somewhere out there, he was free from the curse that had held him captive. With the tear of Lunaris in hand, Sarah and Detective Thompson emerged from the cavern, their hearts lightened by the knowledge that they had succeeded in their quest. As they returned to their town, they found it transformed, a place of light and hope where the shadows of the past no longer held sway. And though their journey had been fraught with danger and uncertainty, they knew that it had been worth it. For in breaking the Moonlight Curse, they had uncovered the true power of friendship, courage, and the indomitable spirit of humanity. In the heart of a moonlit night, the Johnson family embarked on a journey down the desolate highway, cutting through the silent countryside. Their worn-out sedan hummed along the asphalt, bearing the weight of their tired bodies and the anticipation of reaching their destination. The Johnsons, comprised of Mark, the father, Linda, the mother, and their two children, Emily and Jake, had spent the day visiting relatives in a distant town. As the clock ticked past midnight, exhaustion cloaked the family like a heavy blanket, and they yearned for the comfort of their beds. Mark squinted through the windshield, trying to pierce the darkness that enveloped the road ahead. The sparse glow of distant street lamps cast eerie shadows, painting the landscape with an otherworldly hue. Linda clutched the worn map tightly in her hands, attempting to decipher their route through the maze of intersecting roads. Emily, engrossed in her book, occasionally peered out the window, her imagination wandering beyond the confines of the car. Jake, the younger of the siblings, drifted in and out of sleep, his head bobbing against the window with each bump in the road. Despite the weariness that weighed heavily upon them, a sense of unity bound the family together, a shared journey amidst the silence of the night. As they continued down the highway, a flicker of movement caught Mark's attention. He narrowed his eyes, trying to make sense of what he saw. There, on the side of the road, stood a figure, tall and slender, with flowing hair that shimmered in the moonlight. It was a woman, her ethereal presence casting an air of mystique. Mark's grip tightened on the steering wheel as he nudged Linda, his voice laced with uncertainty. "Do you see that?" Linda, startled from her drowsiness, followed Mark's gaze. Her eyes widened at the sight of the mysterious woman. "Who is she? What is she doing out here alone at this time?" Emily and Jake, now fully awake, leaned forward in their seats to catch a glimpse of the enigmatic figure. The car slowed to a crawl as curiosity mingled with caution. Without uttering a word, the family decided to stop and investigate. Mark pulled the car over to the side of the road, and they all stepped out into the cool night air. The woman's eyes, like two orbs of gleaming silver, met theirs as they approached her. "Hello?" Linda greeted tentatively, her voice filled with a mixture of curiosity and concern. "Are you all right? Do you need any help?" The woman's lips curled into a serene smile, and she extended a hand towards Linda. "Thank you for your kindness," she whispered, her voice delicate as a whispering breeze. "I am lost, searching for something I cannot find." Mark exchanged a glance with his wife, uncertainty etched on their faces. But there was an indescribable aura surrounding the woman that compelled them to listen. "What are you searching for?" Emily asked, her voice filled with youthful wonder. The woman's ethereal gaze seemed to penetrate their souls before she spoke. "I seek an ancient artifact, a key that holds the power to unlock the secrets of a long-forgotten realm," she revealed, her voice carrying a hint of urgency. "Legend has it that this key has the ability to open doors to unimaginable wonders and unimaginable horrors alike." The Johnson family exchanged glances, captivated by the woman's words. The allure of adventure and the unknown danced in their eyes, overshadowing any lingering weariness. "If we help you find this key, what will happen?" Mark asked, his voice tinged with both skepticism and intrigue. The woman's eyes sparkled with a mix of gratitude and determination. "If you choose to embark on this quest with me," she explained, "you will be transported to a realm beyond your wildest imagination. You'll encounter mystical creatures, face daunting challenges, and uncover truths that have long been concealed." Linda took a step closer to the woman, her curiosity overcoming any fear or doubt. "And what happens if we decline?" A wistful smile danced on the woman's lips as she replied, "If you decline, you will never know what lies beyond this ordinary world. You will return to your car, continue on your journey, and forever wonder what adventures awaited you just beyond the threshold of this moonlit night." The family exchanged glances again, their hearts pounding with a mixture of trepidation and excitement. They could feel the weight of the decision hanging in the air, a pivotal moment that would change the course of their lives. After a brief pause filled with anticipation, Mark nodded, his voice resolute. "We will help you find this key." A surge of energy seemed to emanate from the woman as she clasped her hands together in gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice carrying a touch of relief. "You have made a choice that few would dare to make." She raised her hand and gently touched Mark's forehead, where a faint symbol began to glow, a mark that bound their destinies together. In an instant, the world around them transformed. The familiar night sky faded away, replaced by a kaleidoscope of vibrant colors and swirling mists. The Johnson family found themselves standing on the edge of a vast, sprawling landscape that stretched far beyond the horizon. As their eyes adjusted to the otherworldly surroundings, they marveled at the ethereal beauty before them. Towering trees with leaves that shimmered like liquid gold loomed overhead, casting intricate patterns of light on the ground below. A symphony of unfamiliar sounds filled the air, the melodic chirping of unseen creatures, the soft rustle of wind through unseen foliage. The woman stepped forward, her hair now alive with an iridescent glow that matched the luminescent flora around them. "Welcome," she whispered, her voice carrying a sense of reverence. "Welcome to Embersong, a realm forged from dreams and forgotten tales." The Johnsons exchanged awestruck glances, unable to tear their eyes away from the awe-inspiring beauty of Embersong. They were overwhelmed by the realization that they had embarked on a journey far beyond anything they could have imagined. The woman, who now seemed to radiate with otherworldly energy, turned towards them, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. "The key we seek rests in the heart of the enchanted forest," she revealed. "It is a place of ancient power and guarded secrets." Mark, Linda, Emily, and Jake exchanged determined nods, their hearts brimming with newfound courage. They were ready to face the challenges that lay ahead, eager to uncover the mysteries of this enchanting realm. Guided by the woman's ethereal presence, the Johnsons ventured deeper into Embersong, traversing through winding paths and lush meadows. Every step revealed new wonders, mystical creatures frolicking in crystal-clear lakes, vibrant flowers that bloomed only under the moonlight. Yet, as they delved further into the realm, shadows began to emerge from the corners of their vision. Whispers echoed through the air, carried by an unseen wind that sent shivers down their spines. The once peaceful atmosphere now crackled with an underlying tension, a reminder that Embersong held not only beauty, but also its share of perils. The woman led them to the edge of a dense forest, where towering trees intertwined their branches like ancient guardians. The air grew thick with a sense of foreboding as they stepped onto the forest floor, the ground soft beneath their feet. The woman paused, her silver eyes scanning their faces. "The enchanted forest is a place of trials and illusions," she warned. "Beware of what you see and trust only what you feel within your hearts." With those words lingering in their minds, the Johnsons advanced cautiously into the forest, the verdant canopy above casting intricate patterns of light and shadow on their path. As they ventured deeper, whispers grew louder, luring them off course and leading them astray. The trees seemingly shifted, their trunks taking on grotesque faces that leered down at the family with malevolence. Each step became a test of resolve as the forest played tricks on their senses, distorting reality and tempting them to lose themselves within its enchanting grasp. Emily clutched Linda's hand tightly, her breaths coming in shallow gasps. "Mom, I don't like this place," she confessed, her voice quivering with fear. Linda squeezed her daughter's hand reassuringly, determined to stay strong for her family. "It's okay, Emily. We have each other. We'll find our way through." As they continued deeper into the heart of the enchanted forest, a melodic lullaby floated on the breeze. Haunting and ethereal, it called to them like a siren's song. Their eyes met, filled with a mixture of curiosity and unease. Mark suggested, his voice filled with a mixture of caution and intrigue. The rest of the family nodded in agreement, their hearts pounding in anticipation of what they might discover. The enchanting melody guided them through a winding path, leading them deeper into the heart of the forest. As they followed the sound, the trees seemed to whisper secrets to one another, their branches swaying with an otherworldly rhythm. Suddenly, the path opened up into a small clearing bathed in moonlight. In the center stood a figure, graceful and ethereal, her voice weaving the lullaby that had beckoned them. Her long, flowing gown seemed to blend seamlessly with the surrounding flora. The Johnsons approached cautiously, entranced by the music that resonated deep within their souls. As they drew nearer, the woman's pure silver eyes met theirs once again, filled with both sadness and hope. "You have found me," she said softly, her voice like a gentle breeze through rustling leaves. "I have been waiting for you." The Johnsons exchanged puzzled glances, unsure of how this mysterious woman could have known they were coming. Mark stepped forward, his voice filled with curiosity. "Who are you?" The woman smiled, a hint of melancholy in her eyes. "I am the guardian of the enchanted forest," she replied. "My purpose is to protect the ancient power that lies within these woods." Linda's brows furrowed. "But what is this ancient power, and why have we been led here?" The guardian's gaze softened as she looked at each member of the family. "The ancient power is a key that can unlock great possibilities and change the fate of both realms. You have been chosen because you possess something special within your hearts, a resilience, a connection to the mystical." Emily's eyes widened with wonder. "What do we need to do?" The guardian beckoned them closer, her voice gentle yet firm. "To unlock the ancient power and find the key, you must complete a series of trials," she explained. "These trials will test your courage, your compassion, and your ability to see beyond illusions." The Johnsons nodded in determination, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them. The guardian raised her hand, and the forest around them seemed to come alive. Vines slithered across the ground, transforming into an intricate labyrinth that stretched as far as the eye could see. "The first trial awaits you within this labyrinth," the guardian said. "You must navigate its twists and turns, relying on your instincts and trust in one another." With a final nod of encouragement from the guardian, the Johnsons stepped hesitantly into the labyrinth, The air grew thick with tension as they made their way through winding paths and deceptive dead ends. Their hearts pounded in their chests as they encountered illusions that sought to lead them astray. But with each challenge they faced, they relied on their bond as a family and their unwavering determination to see them through. They refused to succumb to doubt or fear, their footsteps echoing with resolve as they pressed onward. As they ventured deeper into the labyrinth, the illusions intensified. Familiar voices called out from the darkness, whispering doubts and planting seeds of discord. Yet, the Johnsons remained steadfast, their love for one another serving as an anchor in this realm of illusions. Hours turned into days as they continued their journey through the labyrinth. The path seemed endless, but their spirits remained unyielding. They encouraged one another, reminding each other of their strengths and the purpose that brought them to Embersong. At long last, they reached a clearing bathed in warm sunlight, a gentle breeze teasing their hair. Before them stood a door adorned with intricate carvings, a portal to the next trial. With trembling hands, Mark pushed open the door, revealing a breathtaking garden filled with vibrant flowers of every hue. Petals danced on invisible currents, their colors shifting and blending in a mesmerizing display. The perfume of the blooms enveloped the Johnsons, filling their senses with a sweet and intoxicating fragrance. The Guardian had warned them that the second trial would test their compassion, but at first glance the garden seemed harmless. However, as they took their first steps into the garden, they noticed something peculiar. The flowers were not ordinary flowers. Each bloom had an essence, an emotion that emanated from it. A vibrant red tulip exuded passion, a serene blue forget-me-not radiated tranquility, and a sunny yellow daffodil emitted joy. The emotions were palpable, swirling around the family like a gentle breeze. Linda reached out to touch a nearby daisy, her hand tingling with an unknown energy. Instantly, her heart filled with sadness and empathy, as if she absorbed the flower's essence. She turned to her family with tear-filled eyes. "These flowers, they carry the emotions of those who have loved and lost," she whispered, her voice laden with sorrow. "We must embrace each emotion, honor it, and let it guide us through this trial." The family nodded solemnly, understanding the weight of their task. They approached the flowers cautiously, reaching out to touch each one with reverence. As they did, the emotions flowed into them, intertwining with their own. Mark's fingers brushed against a purple orchid, and a surge of determination coursed through him. He turned to face his family, his eyes filled with unwavering resolve. "We must use these emotions as our compass," he declared. "We need compassion to guide us through this garden." One by one, they allowed themselves to become vessels for the emotions within the flowers. Emily embraced the warmth of joy, radiating a contagious happiness that lifted the spirits of her family. Linda embodied tranquility, her presence calming and soothing in the face of adversity. Together, they moved through the garden, their steps guided by the ebb and flow of emotions, their compassion leading the way. As they journeyed deeper into the garden, the flowers seemed to grow more vibrant, their essence intensifying with every step. The emotions became stronger, swirling around them in a kaleidoscope of energy. It was both exhilarating and overwhelming, but they pressed on. Suddenly, they came upon a massive thorn-covered rose bush. Its blossoms were a deep crimson, but there was an air of sadness emanating from it. Its thorns seemed to reach out like desperate hands, as if pleading for release from its sorrowful burden. Linda approached the rosebush cautiously, but with a determination fueled by empathy. She extended her hand toward one of the roses, and as her fingers brushed against its velvety petals, a surge of grief coursed through her veins. Tears welled up in her eyes as she felt the weight of unimaginable loss wash over her. With tear-streaked cheeks, Linda turned to her family, her voice filled with compassion. "This rose carries the grief of countless souls. We must acknowledge their pain and offer solace." The Johnsons gathered around the rose bush, their hearts heavy with the profound sorrow that emanated from it. They closed their eyes and allowed themselves to truly feel the grief. It was a collective sorrow, a shared empathy that bound them together in this moment. In unison, they began to sing a haunting melody, a lullaby of consolation and healing. Their voices blended harmoniously, carrying their compassion into the depths of the rosebush. As they sang, the thorns slowly receded, revealing a hidden passage beneath. With a final note, their song faded away, leaving behind an atmosphere of tranquility and understanding. The Johnsons exchanged glances, united in their purpose as they descended into the underground passage. The air grew colder as they navigated the winding tunnels lined with glowing crystals. The soft light bathed their path, illuminating the way forward. Their footsteps echoed in the quiet, rhythmic cadence of anticipation. The family's hearts quickened as they sensed that they were drawing closer to the heart of the enchanted forest and the next trial that awaited them. After what felt like an eternity, the passage opened up into a vast ethereal chamber. The ceiling stretched high above them, adorned with shimmering constellations that twinkled like tiny stars. The air was thick with magic, crackling and pulsating with an energy that sent shivers down their spines. As their eyes adjusted to the splendor of the chamber, they saw an immense stone pedestal standing at its center. On top of it lay a solitary object, a small, intricately crafted key glowing with a soft, otherworldly radiance. It beckoned to them, a beacon of possibility and power. "This is it," whispered Linda, her voice filled with awe and wonder. "The key to unlock the mysteries of the enchanted forest." The Johnsons approached the pedestal cautiously, their eyes fixated on the glowing key. As they drew nearer, a surge of energy washed over them, enveloping them in a warm embrace. They could feel the ancient magic pulsating through the air, urging them to claim what was rightfully theirs. With trembling hands, Mark reached out and grasped the key, feeling a jolt of electricity course through his veins. The key resonated with him, as if recognizing the heart of a true seeker. A deep sense of purpose settled within him as he turned to face his family. "We have come so far," he said, his voice steady and filled with determination. "This key is the culmination of our journey, our commitment to uncovering the truth behind the illusions that clouded our lives." His words were met with resolute nods from Linda and Emily, their eyes shining with anticipation. They knew that this key held not only answers, but also the power to unlock the hidden potential within themselves. With a deep breath, Mark inserted the key into a small keyhole at the base of the pedestal. As he turned the key, a tremor shook the chamber, causing the constellations on the ceiling to shimmer and dance in a mesmerizing display. The stone pedestal began to glow with an ethereal light, illuminating the chamber in a soft, radiant glow. Suddenly, a holographic image of the Guardian materialized before them. With a wise and gentle smile, she spoke, her voice carrying wisdom and ancient knowledge. "Congratulations, Johnson family," she said. "You have proven yourselves worthy of this key and the truths it holds. But remember, with great power comes great responsibility." Emboldened by their journey and fortified by their love for one another, the Johnsons stood tall as they faced the final trial that awaited them. They knew that whatever truths lay beyond this chamber would test them like never before. With the holographic image of the Guardian fading away, the chamber fell into a profound silence. The Johnsons exchanged knowing glances, their resolve unshakable as they prepared to face the final trial. As they moved forward, the chamber shifted around them, morphing into a labyrinth of memories and illusions. The air crackled with anticipation, every step fraught with uncertainty and possibility. Their journey had brought them to this pivotal moment, a moment that would define not only their destiny, but the fate of Embersong itself. With the key in hand and their hearts united, they ventured forth into the depths of the chamber, their determination guiding them through the labyrinth of truths and revelations. Each twist and turn revealed glimpses of their past, fragments of memories woven into the fabric of the chamber's walls. They confronted their fears, their doubts, and their deepest desires, unraveling the layers of illusion that had obscured their vision for so long. Together, they faced the trials with courage and resilience, drawing strength from the bonds that bound them together. They embraced the truths that emerged, confronting the shadows of their past and embracing the light that illuminated their path forward. As they reached the heart of the chamber, they were met with a blinding light, a beacon of truth that pierced through the darkness and illuminated the depths of their souls. With a collective breath, they stepped into the light, ready to embrace whatever awaited them on the other side. In that moment, the chamber dissolved around them, giving way to a boundless expanse of light and possibility. They had unlocked the mysteries of Embersong, fulfilling their destiny and shaping the future of the realm. Together, they stood as guardians of the ancient power, their hearts intertwined with the magic that pulsed through the land. And as they looked out into the horizon, they knew that their journey was far from over, that with every trial faced and every truth uncovered, they would continue to write the story of their family's legacy, forever bound by the shadows of the highway and the light that guided their way. Once upon a time, in a small town surrounded by dense forests, there was a young woman named Emily. She was known for her adventurous spirit and love for late-night drives. One fateful night, Emily decided to embark on a solo drive through the eerie woods, unaware of the horror that awaited her. As Emily drove deeper into the darkness, the moonlight barely pierced through the thick canopy of trees. The road ahead seemed endless, with no signs of civilization in sight. The silence was deafening, broken only by the sound of her car engine and the rustling of leaves in the wind. Suddenly, Emily noticed a figure standing by the side of the road. It was a hitchhiker, dressed in tattered clothes and wearing a haunting smile. Against her better judgment, Emily decided to offer the stranger a ride, feeling a mix of curiosity and compassion. As the hitchhiker settled into the passenger seat, a chilling sensation filled the air. Emily couldn't shake off the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The hitchhiker's presence seemed to cast a shadow of darkness over the car, and his eyes held a sinister glint. As they continued down the desolate road, the hitchhiker's behavior became increasingly unsettling. He spoke in cryptic riddles and made eerie predictions about Emily's future. The atmosphere grew tense, and Emily's heart raced with fear. Emily's knuckles turned white as she gripped the steering wheel, her mind racing with questions. Who was this hitchhiker? How did he know things about her that no stranger should know? A cold sweat began to form on her forehead as she desperately searched for a way to escape from this nightmare. The road twisted and turned, leading them deeper into the heart of the forest. The trees seemed to close in around them, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. Emily's breath caught in her throat as a strange fog rolled in, engulfing the car in a suffocating haze. She glanced at the hitchhiker from the corner of her eye, his unnerving smile never leaving his face. His eyes held a darkness that seemed to penetrate her very soul. Fear gnawed at Emily's insides, urging her to do something, anything to break free from this torment. Suddenly, a loud thud echoed through the car as they hit something on the road. Emily slammed on the brakes, her heart pounding in her chest. She peered through the fog, trying to make out what they had hit. As the fog slowly cleared, a sense of dread washed over her when she realized it was a dead animal. The hitchhiker turned his head slowly, his eyes gleaming with an unsettling intensity. "You shouldn't have stopped," he whispered, his voice dripping with malice. Before Emily could react, he lunged towards her, his hands clawing at her throat. Fear and adrenaline surged through Emily's veins as she fought back with every ounce of strength she had. Their struggle intensified, the car swerving dangerously on the abandoned road. Panic consumed her as she desperately searched for an escape route. In a sudden burst of desperation, Emily managed to force open the car door and fling herself out onto the forest floor. Pain shot through her body as she landed roughly on the hard ground, but she couldn't afford to stay down. She needed to get away from the hitchhiker before he could catch up to her. Gasping for breath, Emily scrambled to her feet and stumbled through the dense underbrush, branches clawing at her skin. The forest seemed to close in around her, becoming an endless labyrinth of twisted trees and tangled vines. Each step she took felt heavy, as if the very ground was resisting her escape. Emily's heartbeat thundered in her ears, fueling her determination to survive this nightmare. As she pushed through the thicket, Emily's mind raced with thoughts of how she ended up in this terrifying situation. Was it just a coincidence that she picked up the hitchhiker, or was there something more sinister at play? The questions swirled in her mind, but she knew there was no time to dwell on them now. Her priority was to find help and get as far away from this forest as possible. After what felt like an eternity of running, Emily caught sight of a faint light flickering in the distance. Hope surged within her as she realized it was coming from a small cabin nestled amidst the trees. She quickened her pace, pushing herself to reach the source of light. As she drew closer, Emily noticed that the cabin appeared deserted, its windows shattered, and its door hanging loosely from its hinges. There were signs of struggle all around, as if a violent force had ravaged the place. The hairs on the back of her neck stood on end, but she knew she had no choice but to enter. Whatever horrors awaited her inside the cabin were far better than facing the hitchhiker alone in the woods. With trembling hands, she pushed open the creaking door and stepped cautiously into the dimly lit interior. The air was heavy with an eerie silence, broken only by her own ragged breaths. The flickering light revealed a trail of destruction, furniture upturned, and personal belongings scattered across the floor. Emily's heart sank as she realized that this cabin was once someone's home, now reduced to ruins. The sight sent a shiver down her spine, reminding her of the dangers that lurked in this forest. But as she glanced around the cabin, another realization dawned on her. The inhabitants of this place might have encountered the same hitchhiker. Intrigued and cautiously curious, Emily began to piece together the fragments left behind. She sifted through old photographs, families with smiling faces, capturing moments of happiness forever frozen in time. In one picture, she noticed a striking resemblance between a young man and the hitchhiker who had attacked her. Determined to uncover the truth, Emily searched further. Amongst the debris, she discovered a worn journal, its pages yellowed and fragile with age. As she delicately flipped through its contents, words penned by a desperate hand caught her attention. The journal chronicled encounters with what it referred to as a shadow walker, an otherworldly being that preyed upon unsuspecting souls in the depths of the forest. The writer described eerie encounters, strange disappearances, and a constant feeling of being watched. Emily's hands trembled as she read the chilling accounts, realizing that she had stumbled upon a dark secret that haunted this place for years. Determined to unravel the mystery and put an end to the reign of terror, Emily made it her mission to find out more about the Shadow Walker and its connection to the hitchhiker. She spent hours poring over the journal, searching for any clues that could lead her to the truth. As days turned into weeks, Emily became consumed by her investigation. She visited libraries, spoke with local historians, and even sought out old residents who might have heard whispers of the Shadow Walker. Everyone she encountered seemed to hold their breath when she mentioned it, fear etched deep into their eyes. One evening, as shadows stretched across the forest floor, Emily received a cryptic message from an anonymous source. It was a warning urging her to proceed with caution, for the Shadow Walker was aware of her investigation and would stop at nothing to protect its secrets. This only fueled Emily's determination further. She knew that she was getting closer to the truth, and she refused to let fear hinder her progress. Armed with newfound knowledge and a growing sense of purpose, Emily ventured deep into the heart of the forest, guided by clues left behind in the journal. The trees whispered their secrets as she pushed forward, their branches forming an ominous canopy overhead. Finally, she arrived at an ancient stone circle hidden within the depths of the forest. The air crackled with an otherworldly energy, sending chills down her spine. Instinctively, she knew that this was the place where everything would come to a head. As Emily stepped into the center of the stone circle, a gust of wind swept through the clearing, causing her hair to whip around her face. Shadows danced on the ground as a figure emerged from the darkness. It was the hitchhiker, his eyes now glowing with an eerie, otherworldly light. Emily's heart pounded in her chest as she prepared herself for the final confrontation. The Shadow Walker towered over her, its presence exuding malevolence and power. Emily could feel the weight of centuries in its gaze, a force that had claimed so many before her. But she refused to be another victim. She had come too far, learned too much to let fear consume her now. With a voice that sent shivers down her spine, the Shadow Walker spoke, its words dripping with ancient wisdom and unyielding darkness. "You seek answers, mortal, but the truth you desire is beyond your comprehension." Emily stood her ground, defiance burning in her eyes. "I will not be silenced," she declared, her voice steady despite the tremble within her. "I have seen what you're capable of, the destruction you've caused. I will uncover the truth and put an end to your reign of terror." The Shadow Walker chuckled, a sound that echoed through the stone circle like the whispers of lost souls. "You are but a mere speck in the grand tapestry of existence," it hissed. "Your mortal curiosity will be your downfall." Undeterred, Emily reached into her bag and pulled out an ancient artifact she had obtained during her research, an amulet said to possess the power to banish malevolent entities. Clutching it tightly in her hand, she took a step forward. "I may be small in comparison to you," she said, her voice filled with conviction. "But I have something you don't. I have the strength of those who have suffered at your hands, who have fallen victim to your darkness. Their spirits guide me, and with their help, I will bring an end to your reign." As the Shadow Walker lunged at her, Emily held the amulet high above her head and channeled the power of those who had been wronged by the creature. The Shadow Walker howled in agony as the light of the amulet washed over it, struggling to maintain its form. With a final burst of energy, Emily hurled the amulet toward the Shadow Walker, its light engulfing the creature in a blinding flash of energy. As the shadow dissipated into darkness, the forest fell silent once more, the only sound being the rustling leaves overhead. Exhausted but triumphant, Emily sank to her knees, the weight of what she had witnessed pressing down on her soul. She knew that the battle against darkness was never truly won, but for now, she had made a small dent in the world's suffering. As she stood to leave the stone circle, a gentle hand touched her arm. She turned to see a kind-faced woman standing beside her, her eyes filled with gratitude. "You've done what no one else has dared to do," the woman said softly. "You faced the darkness and emerged victorious." Emily looked at her with disbelief. "You're one of the survivors of the Shadow Walker's attacks?" The woman nodded. "I am, and I've been watching you from afar, waiting for someone brave enough to confront the darkness that haunts our forest. Thank you." Emily felt a surge of warmth in her chest as she looked at the grateful woman. "It was my duty to uncover the truth and protect this forest," she replied. "I only wish I could have done more for those who have fallen." The woman placed a comforting hand on Emily's shoulder. "You may not realize it now, but you have done more than enough by defeating the Shadow Walker. You have given us hope and the opportunity to heal from our wounds, and for that, we will forever be grateful." As Emily made her way out of the stone circle, word of her victory spread through the forest. The survivors emerged from their hiding places, emboldened by her triumph, and they came together to rebuild their lives and restore the beauty that had been tainted by darkness. Emily became a symbol of strength and resilience, her story inspiring others to face their own fears and confront the shadows that lurked in their lives. She dedicated herself to helping those affected by the Shadow Walker's reign, working tirelessly to bring comfort and solace. But even as she attended to the needs of others, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that there was still more work to be done. The memory of the Shadow Walker haunted her dreams, a constant reminder that darkness could always find a way back into the world. Driven by this realization, Emily embarked on a new mission to uncover the origins of the Shadow Walker and prevent its return. She delved deeper into her research, seeking out ancient texts and forgotten legends that might hold the key to unlocking the creature's secrets. Her journey led her to an isolated monastery nestled in the mountains, said to be home to a group of scholars known for their expertise in arcane knowledge. With hope in her heart, Emily made her way up the treacherous path, determined to find answers. The monastery proved to be a place of wisdom and mystique, with towering shelves filled with ancient tomes and whispered conversations that echoed through quiet hallways. The scholars welcomed Emily, recognizing the weight of her mission and the importance it held for all who had suffered under the Shadow Walker's reign. Days turned into weeks as Emily immersed herself in their teachings, absorbing every scrap of information that might shed light on the dark entity she sought. Finally, a frail but wise scholar pulled her aside one evening, his eyes sparkling with ancient knowledge. "You have come seeking answers, young one," he said, his voice filled with the weight of countless years. "But be warned, the path to understanding the Shadow Walker is perilous and fraught with danger." Emily nodded, her eyes filled with determination. "I am prepared to face whatever challenges lie ahead," she replied. "I must know the truth, for the sake of all those who have suffered." The scholar smiled, a flicker of admiration in his eyes. "Very well," he said. "But know that the secrets you seek are not easily obtained. They have been hidden away for centuries, locked within the confines of forbidden texts and guarded by ancient spells." Emily's heart quickened at the mention of forbidden texts. She had faced down darkness before, and she was willing to do whatever it took to unravel its mysteries and protect those who couldn't protect themselves. Together, Emily and the scholar delved into dusty archives, poring over crumbling manuscripts and deciphering cryptic symbols. They spent countless hours poring over forgotten texts, tracing the origins of the Shadow Walker back to a time long forgotten. Their search led them to an ancient prophecy etched onto weathered parchment. It spoke of a chosen one, a person destined to hold the key to vanquishing the Shadow Walker once and for all. As Emily read the words aloud, her heart quickened with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. "The chosen one shall possess a pure heart, forged in the face of adversity. Only they may unlock the power that can banish darkness and restore balance to the world." Emily looked up at the scholar, her eyes filled with determination. "I will be the one to fulfill the prophecy," she declared. "I will do whatever it takes to protect those who have suffered and ensure that the Shadow Walker is defeated." The scholar nodded approvingly. "Your spirit and resilience have already proven you to be worthy of this task," he said. "But know that this journey will not be without challenges. The path you must walk is treacherous, and the forces of darkness will do everything in their power to stop you." Emily nodded, her resolve unwavering. "I understand the risks," she replied, "but I cannot stand by and watch as the Shadow Walker continues to inflict pain and suffering upon innocent lives. I will face whatever obstacles come my way." The scholar smiled, his eyes reflecting wisdom beyond his years. "Very well," he said. "In order to fulfill the prophecy and unlock your true potential, you must undergo a series of trials. These trials will test your strength, your courage, and your unwavering commitment to the cause." Emily took a deep breath, mentally preparing herself for the challenges that lay ahead. She knew that she had come too far to turn back now. "As long as there is hope, as long as there are people who believe in a better future, I will continue on this journey," she declared. The scholar nodded in agreement, his eyes filled with admiration for Emily's unwavering determination. "Then let the trials begin," he said, leading her to a hidden chamber deep within the monastery. Inside the chamber, Emily found herself in a room bathed in an ethereal glow. Mystical symbols adorned the walls, pulsating with ancient energy. The air crackled with anticipation as the first trial awaited her. The scholar explained the nature of the trial, his voice carrying a sense of reverence. "This trial will test your strength of heart," he said. "You'll be faced with a series of illusions that will challenge your resolve and force you to confront your deepest fears." Emily steeled herself, ready to face whatever illusions awaited her. She knew that only by conquering her inner demons could she gain the strength needed to defeat the Shadow Walker once and for all. The first illusion materialized before her eyes, a memory from her childhood. She stood in a desolate landscape covered in darkness, a chilling wind cutting through her clothes. In the distance, she saw herself as a young girl, lost and afraid. Emily's heart ached with the pain of that memory, but she held on to her resolve, determined to break free from the grip of fear that had haunted her for so long. As she approached her younger self, a voice echoed in her mind, whispering doubts and insecurities. But Emily knew better than to listen. She reached out with a steady hand and gently touched her younger self's shoulder, offering comfort and reassurance. "I am here," Emily said, her voice filled with warmth and determination. "You don't have to be afraid anymore. We will face this darkness together." With those words, the illusion shattered into fragments of smoke, dissipating into the air. Emily felt a surge of power within her, as if a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. She had confronted her past and emerged stronger for it. But she knew that the trials were far from over. The second trial tested her courage. In a dimly lit chamber, Emily found herself facing a towering figure cloaked in shadows, the embodiment of the Shadow Walker's malevolence. Its eyes glowed with an unholy light, piercing through the darkness with an intensity that sent shivers down her spine. But Emily stood her ground, refusing to cower in the face of fear. With each step forward, she felt a flicker of defiance ignite within her soul. She refused to let the Shadow Walker's darkness consume her. Drawing upon the strength of those who had suffered, she confronted the creature head-on, her resolve unyielding. As the Shadow Walker loomed closer, its presence threatening to engulf her, Emily reached deep within herself and unleashed a torrent of light, a beacon of hope that pierced through the darkness and banished the creature from existence. The chamber trembled with the force of her victory, and Emily felt a surge of triumph surge through her veins. She had conquered her fears and emerged victorious once again. But the final trial awaited her, the ultimate test of her commitment to the cause. In a chamber, bathed in celestial light, Emily found herself standing before a mirror, a reflection of her true self, stripped bare of illusions and pretenses. In that moment of clarity, she saw the weight of her journey etched upon her face, the scars of battles fought, the sacrifices made, and the unwavering determination that had carried her through the darkest of nights. But she also saw something else, a glimmer of hope, burning bright within her soul. It was the light that had guided her through the shadows, the beacon of courage that had never faltered in the face of adversity. With a steely resolve, Emily faced her reflection, ready to confront the truth that lay within. She knew that the road ahead would be fraught with peril, but she also knew that she carried within her the strength to overcome any obstacle that stood in her way. As she gazed into the mirror, she whispered a vow, a promise to herself and to all those who had placed their faith in her. She would not rest until the Shadow Walker was vanquished, until the darkness that had plagued the forest for so long was driven back into the depths from whence it came. With her resolve strengthened and her purpose clear, Emily emerged from the chamber, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The trials had tested her mettle, but they had also forged her into a warrior, a guardian of light in a world consumed by darkness. And as she stepped out into the world once more, the echoes of her journey reverberated through the forest, a testament to the power of courage, resilience, and the unwavering spirit of those who dared to defy the shadows.